You got something
Yeah,
for me?
ready?
Yeah, let me hear yours.
Marvin the Big Dog Bagley.
Playing basketball in the NBA is no easy feat. That's what many players realize when they come to the NBA with stars in their eyes and have to go their separate way when they fail to meet the NBA expectations. Something similar has happened to another young NBA star, Marvin Bagley. Let's dive into the video and talk about all the problems with Marvin Bagley's NBA career.
Mason against Bender. Misses, but Bagley finishes.
Marvin Bagley III is an American professional basketball player for the Sacramento Kings of the National Basketball Association. He started playing college basketball for the Duke Blue Devils and was a 2018 Consensus All-American. After being selected with the second overall pick by the Kings in the 2018 NBA Draft, he started his professional basketball journey. The season was started by the Kings going 3-1, which surprisingly was the best they had been since the 2014-2015 season. But ever since then, things have seemed to take kind of a slow pace, and the Kings and Bagley have found themselves a seat on the headlines, not the good kind. Shortly after the Kings suffered back-to-back losses to the Houston Rockets, one on December 31st, another on January 2nd, Marvin Bagley's father took to Twitter and tweeted this out. At Sacramento Kings, please trade Marvin Bagley ASAP. Love, Coach Bagley.
Leather larceny, Batum. Good job by Fox, but Paul George bounces into Bagley and the ball knocked out.
But that's not all. De'Aaron Fox's father agreed with him and was like, okay, trade him. This is not the first time we've seen something like this happen. We have seen this kind of situation previously when LeVar Ball spoke about his displeasure with Lonzo's role in the LA Lakers a few years ago. There's nothing wrong with speaking out about wanting a team to trade your son, and thankfully the whole Twitter drama has not gotten between Marvin and Aaron on the court being limited to only between their dads. But what this drama did create was a negative vibe around the Kings' somewhat decent start to the season. But besides talking about the drama his dad has created for him, let's take a look at his professional career thus far and what's been going on with him. It seems like only yesterday when Bagley was being talked about as the next generational talent. And don't get us wrong, he is still being talked about, but now for completely different reasons. A few years in and things have gotten a little rough for Bagley, who once was the #1 high school prospect in the country.
Bagley.
Yes, that's right. Marvin Bagley III was ranked as the #1 high school prospect in the 2017 recruits by both ESPN and Scout.com. He was talked about everywhere to be the #1 pick of the 2018 draft. And after playing one season at Duke, Bagley was in no mood to slow down. He took his quickness, versatility, athleticism, and fluidity to the college level, where all his skills from high school were put to good use in a very nice way. Bagley's lateral agility and quickness, similar to that of a guard, impressed many along with his leaping ability and footwork, making his scoring arsenal unmatched. While his competitor, Ayton, was a more traditional big man, Bagley excelled in all areas of the floor. He could even put himself in the stretch 4 role in case his team needed him to be there for them. So all in all, Bagley was the perfect all-rounder.
Jackson out of North Carolina.
Tried to get it into Bagley, the steal.
But as the 2018 draft approached, scouts were eyeing Ayton and believed he was more NBA ready, especially with how much more built he was compared to Bagley, who looked lanky and skinny. And that's not all. Another new challenger known as Luka Doncic was slowly creeping into the spotlight. Everyone knew who he was, and they knew what he could do. But nobody expected him to be this good at such a young age. In the months that led up to the 2018 draft, there was a lot of debate and speculation between Ayton, Bagley, and Doncic. But since the general consensus was that Ayton would obviously be drafted first, the debate seemed to be between Bagley and Doncic mostly. Since the Sacramento Kings had the second pick, they were forced to make a tough choice. People speculated that the Kings would pick Doncic, since former GM Vlade Divac had connections leading to Luka's family. However, it turned out they were not the good kind of connections. The rumor floating around seemed to be that Divac did not like Luka's father. According to Tim McMahon on the Waj podcast, basically he didn't think a lot of Luka's dad, and the whole like father like son, well, no, this is a different dude. You messed that one up, Vlade.
We saw earlier in the first game, Bam Adebayo, and the fact that
How do you like that?
But apparently, Vlade and Luka's dad talked about it after it came out and laughed about how stupid it was. So it turns out that Vlade skipped out on Luka just because he made a terrible choice, not because he held a grudge against Luka's family. But the results were just the same, so it doesn't really matter. But as for Bagley, it left him in quite an awkward position. While his peers were tearing it up on the courts, Bagley had to go through some problems of his own. During his rookie season, Bagley suffered injuries that hampered his performance. He suffered a sprained knee, which irritated him for months. He did play well. He came off the bench and brought that relentless energy into the court that he's well known for. But if you compare him to his peers, Ayton and Doncic, all the attention seemed to be on them and not Bagley. Imagine him hearing that the Kings made a mistake picking him, and they should have picked Doncic instead.
Bagley spinning, left hand, got it. Marvin Bagley.
Nicely done right there.
It must have gotten super irritating. Instead of helping, the media made it worse by bombarding him with all these questions. Even recently, they asked him how he felt about all these comparisons that were being made to Doncic, to which he said, "You see it? You hear it? But I pay it no mind. I'm not here to please anyone outside the team. I'm here to help the team win, and I'm here to help this organization get to places it has never been." But the question here arises, do the Kings also feel the same way about him? Or do they regret picking him over Doncic? Ever since Bagley started his NBA career, his troubles have been with him every step of the way. He first had a thumb injury, a non-displaced fracture in his right thumb, which led to him being sidelined for about 4 to 6 weeks. Although he did play 13 games, the season suspended before the whole coronavirus pandemic hit. After that, he tried to come back and play in the Disney World bubble, but ended up hurting his foot during practice and missed the remaining games of the 2019-20 season. So things have not been looking up for the player, especially after the Kings announced that they had exercised an option on Bagley on December 4th, 2020.
I've never lost confidence. I've always been confident in myself and my game, knowing what I could do.
All of this happened when Doncic was having an all-time legendary season, which led to the critics having a major field day talking about Bagley's career. And when you combine Bagley's slow start to the season with the recent problematic tweets his father sent out, things have not been looking good for the Kings. And if you think how they could have just avoided all this by picking Doncic, who is doing incredible in his career, then you would have understood why the Kings are irritated. Since the Kings have offered an extension to Fox, critics are wondering if Bagley would also be offered one. We know his time for the extension will come up soon, but do the Kings even want him at this point? In order to prove himself, the coming season will be the most important one yet for Bagley. If he fails to show enough and give the performance he needs to give, it's possible that the Kings will just let him go. Of course, he is not a bust, but while his peers seem to be doing really well, Bagley also needs to step up and show the Kings and his critics what he's made of.
Have to go strong or don't come playing around. He tried to block that with 2 hands.
Marvin Bagley still hopes that he can revitalize the franchise and become what he and the Kings had hoped he would become. They wanted to pair him with Fox and have them become the face of the franchise. And watching the game, you can see what the Kings see in them. The two certainly play well together and are always in sync with each other. Bagley's quickness, coupled with Fox's athleticism, can take the Kings to the next level. That is, if Bagley deals with the problems in his career and does what he hopes to do. Until then, we will have to wait for Bagley to come around and reach his full attention with the Sacramento Kings. And that's a wrap on the problems with Marvin Bagley's NBA career. What do you think about the relevant question to the video? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.